They said D&D was of the devil. They said heavy metal music was the gateway to hell. They said that alternative spirituality and quote-unquote black arts is polluting the souls of the youth. This was part of a massive movement to condemn a changing culture and a changing society and an evolving imagination and sense of identity and a sense of what kind of stories we tell and what kind of expressions we want to create for our identity and our individuality and the kind of communities we want to develop. This was known as the Satanic Panic. And it's fucking coming back. Hardcore. Pardon my language, folks, but hey, my name is, for all of you who know me, I'm Shadowhawk, or as my friends will know me, Lucian Nelson. I'm a Christian. I am a devout in my faith. I don't go to any particular church. I practice the occult. I love heavy metal music. I played D&D a shit ton, and I grew up in Adult Swim and dark fantasy and magic and most media I consumed, from Final Fantasy, Dragon Age, Elder Scrolls. I'm kind of known for being an edgelord on the internet who plays fantasy role-playing games and saying the most dark, effed up crap possible. And I'm lucky to live in a country where I'm allowed to be this kind of individual. But unfortunately, the Satanic Panic is coming back. It was a time and place in the 80s and late 90s where alternative culture, fantasy, even shows like the freaking Ninja Turtles were under attack by the Christian right. Books were burned, people were thrown into prison for quote-unquote practicing satanic devil worship. And fantasy was entering a new phase of... Most fantasy media was evolving and taking shape from D&D to heavy metal, and there's all these communities being formed in this new ethos. And yet people were condemned, called freaks, and called satanic, and people lost their lives, their careers, and some people are still in prison because of these evangelical dumbasses. And strangely enough, the people who are bringing this back the most aren't even the evangelicals, it's the rad trad Catholics. They are so obsessed with a changing culture where women can be, quote-unquote, more masculine, be the heroes of their own story, or men can be girlish, where we're having moral ambiguity in our role-playing games. We have moral ambiguity in our media, and we're telling different stories with different characters as a sense of involving change of narratives and evolving sense of what is a hero and what is a great evil to fight against. But I will say this, the monomyth will always exist. The core essence of every great hero's journey will always be the same. And that's because it's written to our DNA. As an occultist, I just call this the monomyth, and it's built on us for a reason. But it's constantly adapting and changing. And what these rad trad, Jesus freak, mother effers don't understand is that anyone can be the hero of their own journey. Even unlikely heroes who you call heretics might be the hero of someone else's life and might save the world. And that scares them. That scares them that good is no longer qualified by 1500s, lashing yourself with a fucking belt, wearing a chastity belt, and a woman can be the hero, and a man can be the hero by being a stay-at-home dad. These people are obsessed with a changing world and a different evolving understanding of gender and social normality. And it's dangerous. This kind of like hatred towards the goth community, towards creators, towards... I mean, I look at VisiPop. I look at a brilliant content creator who has gotten under such fire and shit from the religious right, just for telling a story about demons and hell and their relationships trying to be better people. And this movement is dangerous, and I will fight against it, and I'm not a Christian YouTuber by any fucking means. But I think we need to be aware of the elephant in the room and this growing far-right Christian version of woke, which is destroying people's lives, leading to harassment, bullying, shame, and ostracization from communities both online and in person over things that don't even matter, like having tattoos, what video games you play, what music you listen to. We're looking at a new Satanic 2.0. And as a goth Christian, as someone who is queer, as someone who enjoys dark fantasy, I feel for a lot of people who might go for the similar experiences that a lot of people in the 90s who are autistic went through when they're playing D&D and being neurodivergent, and the harm these freaking fundamentalists could have on a lot of kids who are just being themselves. And I will always stand up for people to be whoever they want to be and tell whatever story they want to tell, both in their fantasy and their own personal hero's journey in real life. So let's get into the meat and potatoes with this one, folks. It's going to be a doozy. It's going to be a long one. And once again, no hatred goes out to any religion or denomination. I'm not going to hate everyone associated with a particular religion. I am going to be talking about the extreme elements of said religion, which give the entire tradition a bad name. I know there's good Catholics. I know there's brilliant Catholics. And there's one of my favorite Christian YouTubers is Cass. She's the Catholic hippie. Look her up. She's liberal as hell. She is supportive of the queer community. Look her up. So let's go into the dark bowels of the internet and bring out the darkness and unleash the powers of hell upon these Jesus freaks. Hell fucking yeah. Let's fucking begin. Praise Malak Ball. But I will say this, the people I will be going after in this video are modern-day Pharisees, because they ignore what their own Bible says about, and yes, the Bible does talk about moral relativism, coming from Paul himself. Thessalonians, Romans 14:15. Do not be people judge you for things that do not matter. And that can apply to sexuality, can apply to your interest in music. Don't start arguments over things that are not hurting you or others, pretty much is what the verse is saying. And only focus on the big things, the Ten Commandments, the Beatitudes, and here's a little spiritual note: just practice Beatitudes, and that's how you get into heaven. Love God with all thy heart, and love thy neighbor as thyself. And these Pharisees are not doing that. They're modern day den of vipers. They're judging people over music, aesthetic, taste in media, taste in fantasy, taste in music, self expression, and just what they do in their downtime, playing video games and having dark effed up moments by going to a goth nightclub and listening to a goth band, or going to a Renaissance fair and fighting orcs. They're shaming people over things that don't matter just because they look different and they quote unquote look like something out of the Satanic Bible. Jesus Christ, these people are stupid. But no, I mean, the Bible, Paul himself encouraged a healthy form of moral relativism. 98% of things in the world are not inherently good or evil. It's your intent, and you shouldn't judge the other servant for living a life different than you, as long as they're not breaking the core tenets of the Gospels. And you, by being judgmental and Pharisee-like and making commands where God doesn't, is against the Gospel. Romans 14:15, adiaphora. Very few things are necessary to achieve salvation. Very few things are forbidden in and of themselves. And that applies to relationships, sex, politics, 99.9% of things we encounter on a day-to-day basis. But let's hear what these lovely people have to say. And once again, I'll say this out loud. If you're a diehard, rat-trad Catholic or evangelical Jesus freak, get the hell off my channel. You will be offended. God bless, and hope you grow from or you can stick around and grow from the experience. Peace.
The Catholicism subreddit, which, if you're not familiar with, it's just like the big Catholic group on Reddit. And someone had posted a question there that caught my eye, which was, can Catholics listen to heavy metal? And the reason this caught my eye is because prior to becoming a Catholic, I was a big metal fan, a metalhead, if you will. I wasn't just a fan, I was a practitioner. As a guitar player, this was a big reason I liked heavy metal. The songs were long, complicated, full of intricate guitar riffs that I enjoyed learning and playing, and which helped me to develop my skills a lot faster than if I was practicing on other genres. For me, it was an all-consuming identity, kind of like a religion. Like I was devoted to my favorite bands. I owned all their albums. I had posters on my walls. I had stickers on my car. I listened to it unceasingly, kind of like how St. Paul expects us to pray in 1 Thessalonians. But when I became a Christian, I suddenly felt these two identities fall into a kind of a tension. Because for as long as I've been a Christian, I've tried to be attentive to the effects of grace on my soul, because I'm someone who desperately needs it. I know the kind of person I was before a life of faith and prayer, and I know what kind of person I was going to become, and I know how dramatically that changed with the effects of grace. So anything that competes with that grace has always been I'd say pretty pronounced to my perception. And the music I habitually listened to became one of those things I started to pay close attention to. All of which is to say, when someone asked about it on Reddit, I was interested to see if anyone shared my experience. And while I didn't read all the comments, the top ones that I did see all affirmed the same thing, which was that, yes, heavy metal is perfectly compatible with your Catholic faith. Most of the replies went something like this: of course you can listen to heavy metal and be Catholic. I love heavy metal and I'm Catholic. Another one said something like, we really need to stop regulating people's entertainment. To which I immediately thought, you honestly think that society overly regulates people's entertainment? In an age when we've completely embraced cultural relativism and most 10-year-olds are going to bed with little screens under their pillows that give them unlimited access to every possible curiosity, including pornography.
First off, do you see what he's doing? He's creating a dichotomy, his own personal experiences and his own fucked up mental health issues and his own self-righteous piety. He's saying if it impacted him in this dichotomy the psychodrama is creating because he had to go deep dive in and play with the psycho circus that is Catholic guilt, which often comes from traditionalists. He's saying like anyone else who disagrees with him is wrong, and that every form of relativism is bad, and that we all had to live like it's 1950s, or in this retard's experience, the 1500s, and we're not whipping ourselves with shame anymore. Yeah, and once again, if the majority of even Catholics on Reddit are saying like it's not a non-issue and the church has no official teaching on it, this guy is being a Pharisee and turning his own mental gymnastics and self-loathing into everyone else's rule. He's limiting a statement. Not even the Catholic Church condemns heavy metal music or has an official statement on it. Let that tell you something. He's being a Pharisee and turning his own personal psychodrama and everyone else's psychodrama and trauma dumping on everyone else. And for the record, we shouldn't live in a society where we control people's media. We shouldn't live in a society where we police the media and the entertainment people partake in. That's just totalitarianism and it's Christian nationalism. And we had that in the 1920s in this country with the League of Morality or Righteousness, where a bunch of Catholics tried controlling Hollywood and censoring the media and the arts because, and I quote, making out was considered devilish and seductive in a Hollywood film. And these prudes still have a presence in Hollywood and the media, and they just want to censor everything because it disagrees with them. League of Decency, that's what I was thinking of. And once again, Prohibition, the Christian revival movement in the 1920s was all about this moralistic gatekeeping. And it died down and goes in cycles, and now it's coming back. But let's continue seeing what he has to say.
We could use a lot more regulating what people find appealing in their entertainment. And the same is kind of true of the church. We live in this age in which every worldly flavor is coming at us from every angle, trying to capture our interest. And nobody's talking about the potential risks of what we listen to and watch in our media and music, which we spend a lot of time doing. But the ancient philosophers and the church fathers talked about this quite a bit. The time in which our exposure was quite a bit more limited than it is now. Now, because this is such a neglected question of our age, I think it's really important that we look to great thinkers of the past who did address it. C.S. Lewis argued that all things being equal, if you have to choose between reading old books or new books, you should choose the old books, because new books are trapped in the prejudices of our own age, prejudices that you probably already share as a child of that age. Old books can correct a lot of the modern errors. We don't even notice our errors because we've simply absorbed them through something like osmosis, because they're so ubiquitous in our times. He said thinkers of the past, they're not infallible, they'll make mistakes. They won't make the mistakes that are common today, which is it's like a breath of fresh intellectual air and perspective you wouldn't otherwise be exposed to. It's a helpful correction to a lot of what we take for granted today. So because there's such a deafening silence on this topic today, which seems to convince all the Catholic Redditors that this is the same as like a carte blanche permission, and since great thinkers of the Western tradition of the past did spend some serious effort to address questions of appropriateness in art and music, stands to reason we should consult those past thinkers. And in the church's intellectual tradition, there are two currents we can look to, which are faith and reason. Faith tells us about the content of revelation, or the things that we can only know because God told us about it. He revealed it to us. That's where we get the word revelation, which this question doesn't fall into. So that means we can look to the tradition of reason. And in the church, that tradition has been extremely inclusive of two major pre-Christian philosophers, which are Plato and Aristotle. And man, did they have a lot to say on this topic. Plato especially talks about the effects music has on the soul, especially on young people. As he proposes his ideal city-state in the Republic, he says that poets who fixate on dirges and lamentations, or in other words, excessively depressing or negative material, that they should be censored for the ill effects that they'll have on people. And he also points out something that should be obvious, but for some reason we are entirely blind to, which is that certain modes of music, certain styles communicate the same negative sentiments, whether they have lyrical content or not. And for the same reason that we should avoid excessively negative poetry, he says we should also avoid excessively negative sounding music. Now, Plato's Republic is a bit bonkers in terms of its actual legislative proposals, but it does make incredibly profound philosophical points. And in this case, Plato's concern about music is that it affects the soul and it arouses our passions for good or for bad. Good forms of music have good effects and bad forms have bad effects. This is a foundational premise that was adopted by all the saints, fathers, and the doctors that go on to address this subject. And it really should not be that controversial. Obviously, there are good forms and bad forms of music. I think most people can admit that if they're being honest. But then those same people, even if they're Christian, will refuse to actually admit that specific examples resemble the bad form. Aristotle, as with many things, he takes a slightly more moderate view than Plato. He says that music appeals to our enthusiasm. It gets us excited to want to participate in whatever it is that is arousing our interests. And that enthusiasm is an emotion of the ethical part of the soul. It's what we adhere to. It's what we endorse voluntarily. He goes on to say that music moves our emotions to sympathy for whatever it is that they portray, which is to say that we are swayed, we are moved, we are affected in our state of mind and emotion by the music we choose to expose ourselves to. And again, this is so obvious it should hardly need to be said. He then explains that music is pleasing, and that virtue consists in rejoicing in what is good and hating what is bad. So that it's a noble thing to aim to be someone who makes right judgments about good and evil, and to have our passions or your emotions governed by those same judgments according to our reason. Therefore, music that portrays what is noble and virtuous maintains that alignment. It encourages it. It reinforces it. Music that stirs up our passions out of alignment with what we judge to be good and beautiful is therefore contrary to virtue. And these themes all get picked up by the Church Fathers with one addition, which is that they are extremely cautious, if not overtly hostile, to secular forms of music. Fathers like Saint Clement of Alexandria, Saint John Chrysostom, Saint Augustine, Saint Basil the Great, they all touched on the differences between good and bad music. They said that the good should be modest, ordered especially, and that it should strengthen virtue and elevate the mind to God and to prayer. Anything that is disordered, overly sensual, theatrical, or overly arouses passions like lust or frivolity or rage, or makes mere pleasure its end, those should be rejected. And then St. Thomas Aquinas, the universal doctor of the church, he picks up all of these things. He says that music is not morally neutral. It works on the passions of the soul, imitating those passions, echoing what Aristotle says. He says the good kind disposes the soul to piety, to contemplation, and to virtue, and the bad kind seeks pleasure as its end, at best, and at worst, it stirs up our passions to a disordered pitch, out of alignment with virtue and reason. So how does this all apply and compare to heavy metal? The first thing to notice is that there were no forms in the ancient or medieval world that would be comparable to what we call heavy metal today. The closest thing might have been like songs designed to arouse the fighting spirit in soldiers heading off to battle, which both Aristotle and Thomas, if I remember correctly, said was a good thing in its proper context. So because there's no version of metal in their day, we have to try to apply their principles to the question. And in evaluating any music, Plato said that we have to look at three things, which are the melody, the rhythm, and the lyrics. And all three of those stood out to me when I started asking the question if this was fitting to listen to as a Christian. But the lyrics were especially notable. Because if we're being honest here, if the majority of metal lyrics are completely incompatible with virtue, contemplation, and Christian piety. A lot of the bands I listen to, like Opeth, In Flames, Iron Maiden, they fixated a lot of attention on demonic themes, if not outright fascination or glorification of the devil. And if it wasn't that, they were talking about violence, morbid curiosities, vulgar ideas, rebellion, or just what Plato called dirges and lamentations. In fact, actually Opeth has a song called The Dirge of November and an album called Lamentations. And the reason those kinds of themes were and are so ubiquitous in metal is because they fit the style. The sound of metal is angry and dark. Just look at the bands who are credited for first establishing that sound. Ozzy Osbourne, he used to say that they were just spellbound by chord progressions and modes that sounded like what he called doom music. And yes, not all metal songs have a dark or demonic content, but I think that would be an exception. So to try to cite, like Christian metal bands or the odd song that breaks the mold, it's not a good way to draw general principles and just try to define something like metal. Trying to make rules out of the unusual and the exceptional is called the converse accident fallacy. It's like noticing a blind person using a seeing eye dog and then concluding that every dog owner uses their dog for navigation. Exceptions are exceptions for a reason, and the reality is that the broad defining themes of heavy metal are often in stark and in explicit opposition to Christianity. It might be true that not all metal bands are satanic, but it is a pretty accurate statement to say that most satanic bands occupy some subgenre of heavy metal, and it's not by accident. So that's the lyrical content, but then if we move on and talk about the rhythm and melody side, again, if we're being honest, metal is designed to stir up extreme emotions, and they're clearly negative emotions, either anger or lamentation. Now, St. Thomas doesn't treat anger as merely bad because virtue consists in doing the right thing at the right time. And there are some times when anger is the absolute most appropriate response, like in the face of serious injustice. But to just start streaming your favorite metal song when you're in the car or at home is to needlessly stir up negative emotions when nothing in your immediate circumstances is calling for it. Like when I was younger with my friends and we would go on snowboarding trips to the mountains, on the last leg of the drive up the mountain to the parking lot, we'd always throw in Metallica's Master of Puppets because we wanted to get, quote, pumped up. But what it really meant was we wanted intense feelings to encourage us to do what we perceive to be an intense activity, which freely admits the effects that music can have on your state of mind, if not your soul. But the problem is we were mistaking intense rage and negativity for just intensity in general because we were so desensitized to the modern experience of sensory overload that the only way we could feel something intensely is if it were on the extreme end of the spectrum. So when I first became a Christian, I couldn't have articulated these points, but I just intuitively knew that the metal I was so attached to was completely incompatible with the newly adopted faith. So for my first Lent, I threw away all my CDs, I took down all the posters, I just gave it up. And the effects weren't at all subtle. And even today, I'll sometimes return to it for various reasons, often nostalgia. And if I'm paying attention, it usually has negative effects on me, especially as a husband and father, because I have 8 kids, a busy work schedule, all of which just demands a lot of me. So if anything in my prayer life or my state of mind gets thrown out of calibration, I notice it because I start to struggle to manage all these responsibilities. I become irritable and impatient. I even start to stray into certain vices that I thought I had a clear handle on. And even though it sounds like I'm picking on heavy metal here, I would say that this is true, these criticisms are true of all top 40 music. Everything our culture upholds and celebrates is the kind of stuff that the fathers and the doctors and even the pagan philosophers would have rejected as completely incompatible with faith and virtue. And if I can be so bold to suggest, they would also be just horrified to see us incorporating these genres of music into our worship of God. So if you aren't convinced by everything I've said, let me offer you a challenge in closing to take just like a 1-week fast from any kind of music that stirs up your passions the way the great thinkers
This is the part where I break apart Brian's argument. Metal music is never. All the things he's quoting are exogesis. Isogesis, I forget the terms. What he's saying is very much the opinions of old guys old white guys who are trying to philosophize things and control people and make extra biblical commandments and control people and make people fall in line and control those who are undesirable and don't fit the mold. In the Middle Ages, Christianity was the birthplace of all the legalism, insanity, and Phariseeism we have now. And it comes mostly from the Roman Catholic tradition. I mean, most Orthodox I know are criticize the crap out of Catholicism versus legalism and its hyper legalism. And Protestant, same thing. And what he's doing is turning his own philosophy, his own butthurt, his own trauma, his own spiritual psychosis into everyone's issue. The fact that most Catholics, even on Reddit, don't consider it a major issue, it's just a sign of how mature Brian is and how he lives in his own world where he has a God complex and he's the main character and a character protagonist syndrome. And anyone who doesn't think like him, he has extreme one path only, I am the sage mentality that really robs Christians and people in general who don't fit the mold of their own identity, their own interest, their own soul. He's trying to make everyone look the same, act the same, and make people think that his way of doing Christianity is the only way to do it. Contrary to what Brandon is saying, metal music is not. Yeah, there's a lot of pagan aspects, but you know what? I know a lot of Christians and a lot of ex-Christians who like the darker themes of metal because it's like emotional rapture. I mean, I love fucking Powerwolf. I love Dogma. And I don't care about their politics. Most people don't get sucked into songs' politics and its themes. And even then, I mean, a lot of these themes aren't inherently bad. I mean, like, a lot of us grew up in fucked up Christian households or went to Catholic school and we wound up fucked for life. And we use this music as a way of dealing with our trauma and a way of processing our emotions and, like, spitting out the venom of a very toxic religion. And that's what a lot of goth culture is, taking the imagery of religion and spitting it out and finding value in who we are and what we've been through. And suffice to say, there's also a shit ton of Christian metal artists and emo artists I follow. Breaking Benjamin, Paramore. There's even like, God, what was their name? The guys that did there's a lot of metal bands and emo bands that have Christian lyrics, have Christian members, and they turn that into the emo edgelord Christian of the early 2000s and mid 90s. I mean, even like Black Veil Brides had a lot of Christian imagery, and a lot of these artists were formerly Christian or have spirituality in their life. I mean, Avenged Sevenfold, Disturbed. A lot of these guys are very spiritual and call out the powers that be, whether that be religion or the organized governments that are just oppressing us. And they find there's a lot of joy to be found in that dark imagery. It's very captivating. It's not anti-Christian because it looks like skulls and demons and shit. I mean, once again, it goes into roleplay mentality. You can roleplay in LARP as a goth, as a dark elf mage, and find a lot of growth from experimenting with your energies, your identity, the things you play with. As long as you're not doing anything that's hurting yourself and you're not causing any real harm, there's no damage done. A lot of us grow out of it by the time we're late 20s, early 30s. But you know what? I never grew out of it because I'm a fucking freak. I'm a fucking weirdo metalhead chaos magician. Go fuck yourself, Brian. But a lot of us still find joy in shows in the culture of goth and metal because, one, it helps us put our faith into perspective. It also helps us put our trauma in perspective and how we balance them. Or if you left the faith, it helps you deal with the trauma of leaving it. A lot of this imagery, there's so many good stories in the goth and emo community, from Has-Been Hotel to, and what the message that show is trying to say about being ostracized by the puritanical religious assholes and being a freak and trying to better yourself and having that person's spiritual journey. And that's why I love Has-Been Hotel. No one's beyond forgiveness, no one's beyond redemption. I think most people go to hell in Has-Been Hotel are doing it from their own trauma. and all the mistakes I made. And Hazmat Hotel was very much a personal growth journey of rising, learning from mistakes, and making personal peace with the divine. And goth and heavy metal music, it's a good way of using dark imagery to call out the dark. Or what Brian reminds me of, he'd be a total inquisitor in the Imperium of Man. Well, he's arguing straight up the Imperium of Man. Like, he is straight up, he's an ecclesiarch priest from the Imperium of Man, trying to snuff out any form of chaos or deviance from the norm of perfect humanity. And he would probably be an inquisitor, and he is justifying Inquisition logic. He's justifying Inquisition logic, hunting down those who disagree or who are abnormal and don't fit in the rigid orthodoxy, which is something that's been plaguing Western Christianity for almost a millennia at this point, if not more. And we gotta pay the price for that. We Christian mystics gotta pay the price for that, and we gotta try and rebuild the things that Brian destroys, and people like him, and the assholes that he worships as gods, his saints. And once again, songs like metal bands like Dogma and Ghost have been so therapeutic for me, dealing with the extreme, unbelievable Phariseeism of the Imperium of Man known as the Catholic Church. And there's a balance between the chaos and order, and a lot of us tread that path on the daily. I mean, I think most Christians, especially most ex-Christians, become magi or cultists like I am, are trying to find the gray path between the oppressive order of the church and the chaos and sanity of the darker aspects of the ether. I really do believe that. Personally, I think spirituality, true mysticism, true Christian spirituality, not Christian religion, which is found the breadth of the Gospels, is the balance between good and evil and chaos and order, and being the gray magi that we're put on this earth by God to be, to save souls and heal our own souls and heal the souls of our community that have been hurt by the two extremes, the hedonist and the fucking ascetic, pious, self-righteous inquisitor. The balance between the Slaneshi and the Imperium of Man, the balance between chaos and order. And we try and walk that path every day. And I think the Bible speaks more to spiritual people like me than it does Brian, because we're trying to have direct connection with the divine, and bring as much freedom and spirituality and grace to this world as we can. And by the way, I love the gothic imagery of Powerwolf. The dark, how they call out Catholic misogyny and patriarchy, and they literally use demons or a girl's best friend as once again a way of dealing with extreme purity culture and trauma and hatred for women being individuals and not submissive brood mares. Once again, spirituality is the freedom from the extreme controlling rigid orthodoxy with the Imperium of Man and the dark, diabolical, pitless insanity of chaos, also known as the demons of excess and whatnot. Both oppressive order and insane chaos are the two forces destroying the world right now. And God's grace, as often seen for what I was talking about earlier, Adiaphora, Thessalonians, Romans 14:15. Paul is anything but grace. There's very little legalism when it comes to Paul.
I'll get some more stuff for you guys.
And that grace of freedom from man-made traditions and man-made rules and impressive order is what frees us and gives us the path we can take to bring heaven to earth. And once again, I just love Powerwolf. Fucking love that band. I find so much freedom in goth culture, and I'm not a chaos, and I'm a gray mage. I'm a gray Jedi. I walked that path from chaos and order. I walked that path because I'm an autistic queer weirdo who loves Dogma, Elder Scrolls Online, and praises Moloch Bull on the internet to offend Jesus freaks and SJWs. About the demonification of the youth, the evils rising amongst us, over things that don't even matter, like your preferred. These things are non-consequential and have no real impact on your soul, and it just speaks of how pampered there's real religious oppression some real demonic shit happening in countries all around the world. Persecuting people, not just Christians, but religions in general. And then there's the Russian Orthodox Church, which is now banning goth and metal, an alternative lifestyle, as a threat to the state. Real imperial man shit. But they're gonna say, "Oh, that's justified because they are evil." Fuck them. Putin go fuck himself. He's a modern day imperial man who puts anyone who is different into the gulag. Yeah, it's now illegal to be goth or a metalhead in Russia. Fuck that shit. Christians can be just as persecutive and totalitarian as the religions that persecute the ideologies that persecute them. The point of the matter is, human institutions, religion, government is always going to be a force of evil. And whenever you get a hierarchical organization as powerful as a government or a state church, there's going to be oppression. There's going to be all sorts of fucked up shit happening. But no, I mean, like, once again, goth and emo and metalheads are not the threat to the faith. There's real threats to Christianity that are not has-been hotel, that are not going to your local anime convention. There's real evils out there. Some evils within their own church, by the way. Greed. It's not sexuality or alternative lifestyle that's the grace the evil that's destroying the world. It's mammon. It's mammon, greed, and hatred. Those are what's destroying the world, not people's bedtime patterns. Not people's bedtime patterns. Not their taste in music or art or aesthetic or music or entertainment. If that's your logic, then Tolkien belongs in hell because he created the OG D&D campaign. Yeah, but no, I mean, like, I love modern day art. I love modern day goth art and culture, from everything from the Hasman Hotel community to Elder Scrolls Online, being a nerdy weirdo in Baldur's Gate 3, wiping out all the goblins, being an evil bastard in my favorite role playing game, being a demonic sorcerer in ESO, role playing. I've done so many role playing games and just enjoy going to goth clubs. And these pampered, self righteous Christians who think this is a threat to their religion call me the servant of evil. They say I'm the threat to their faith. No, the real threat to your faith is your own greed and your own hatred. And take the log out of your own eye for taking the splinter out of your neighbor's eye. Advice for the win, though. And they're so focused on culture war bullshit because they become so pampered and addicted to their greed and power and pride. They're ignoring the real evils of the world, which is greed, mammon, hatred, and yeah, no, the 21st century is going to go down as just as extreme and just a continuation of extremism of the 20th century. The next century and a half will probably be remembered as one of the most bloodiest, most worst epics in human history. And I do believe that. Once again, what is alternative lifestyle doing? What is alternative culture doing that is so much a threat to Western civilization? What is so wrong with someone wearing having a shit ton of tattoos and piercings, loving other girls? I've met goths who are tatted and pierced as hell, who are devout Christians, are more conservative than I am, and they still enjoy things like heavy metal and D&D and the goth nightclub. I don't agree with them in a lot of things, but you know what? Still, you're obsessing over aesthetics and alternative culture and lifestyle because you're caught in the culture war bullshit. But here's our next target of stupidity. Once again, the beauty of goth and metal is taking joy and finding meaning in the darkness of life, the macabre, finding joy and peace of being an individual in fucking conformity, and defining yourself for who you are and being the freak you've always wanted to be, and paying a middle finger to those who want to put you into a fucking box. I love that rebellious, dark spirit of it, And once again, it's all about taking joy in the darker things, the aesthetic, the music, being an outcast, and taking joy and love in being an outcast. I mean, and once again, it tells a story. It kind of like makes us realize death it takes the wholeness of the human experience, both the good, the bad, the sad, the sweetness of both the highs and lows and the darks and lights of the human soul. And very holistic view of the human existence and experience and taking joy in that. And I really enjoy that as someone who is alternative, you know? I enjoy like the darker aspects of reality. I enjoy being an individual. I enjoy being kinky. I enjoy being a weirdo. I enjoy other freaks and weirdos, because here's the other thing I constantly do in my D&D campaigns and why I like my media and why I like dark fantasy so much. It's often the freaks and the geeks and the weirdos and the heretics that save the day, and in spite of the organized church and state trying to oppress the heretics, even though the heretics have a direct connection to the divine, are given the destiny of saving the world. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Magicians. Crap like that. Un-Disneyification and unwhitewashed normal people who are troubled, have issues, have trauma. They're saving themselves and saving their friends and family and the world in the process by fighting their trauma and defying the powers that be. By the way, technically, the great spiritual leaders of the church have always been the heretics. Jesus was a heretic to Judaism, Martin Luther was a heretic to Catholicism. And, yeah, no, these people change the world for the better. And it's always whenever religion becomes too powerful, they start coming after the freaks and the outcast. Weird how that Christianity became the very thing I hated. It became the Roman Empire. But now here we are about to tackle another far-right Jesus freak commentator named Religious Hippie, who's an absolute terrible human being and is the most prideful, self-righteous, judgmental person I've ever seen on the internet. And strangely enough, uses theology from the 1500s like she's a Spanish inquisitor. Let's watch and be amazed how stupid humanity can become, even now in the 21st century. And by the way, no harm, no. If anyone's watching this, don't go after these YouTubers. They're too far gone to go after, and it's not worth your time. Peace. Now let's check in with them, shall we?
Testing, testing, all you peoples out there. Hopefully my microphone doesn't do some dumb stuff. Hello, my Jude crew, and welcome back to my channel. Yes, I have officially decided that I will call you guys the Jude crew, since my patron saint of this ministry is St. Jude, and we have the St. Jude prayer group. I will link below for you guys for more information. It's free. We go on Zoom, we pray the rosary, we do a litany to St. Jude. It's a really great time, good community. But yes, you guys are officially called the Jude crew. I don't want to hear any complaining, because you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. Also, we love St. Jude, so. But before we dive further into this video, I first want to thank our sponsor, House of Joppa. We'll talk a little bit more about them later on. Anyways, hi everybody, welcome to this channel. I hope you guys are new here. I hope you guys are doing well. Some of you might be asking, Amber, what are we covering in today's video? And to that I have to say, can you not read the title? Just kidding, love you guys. But if you can't read the title, I understand. We're talking about the occult and pop culture.
I don't know. I sit somewhere between being a literal witch I'm not kidding.
Oh, we're going to talk about this because I think this is something that people love to dismiss in our culture today, okay? And that is how and why the entertainment facility that is Hollywood, the cesspool that is Hollywood, they're just absolutely obsessed with the occult. I don't even have to tell you guys about that whole Sam Smith video at the Tonys. I don't actually know these award shows, whatever, I don't watch them. But my thing is that this has kind of been a growing problem for a very long time, and now it's no longer as subtle as it was when I was a child. You know, there were things here or there, or whatever, you know, the dad's an idiot, there's, you know, family dramas, there's like kids that don't respect their parents, etc. But now it's taken on a whole other level. It's not just a couple edgy music videos or a few creepy live performances. It's systematic, it's intentional, and it's designed to desensitize you. And yet, the second that I point this out, the gaslighting begins. You're overreacting.
It's just for fun, man. It's not that deep.
It's just aesthetic. Don't be dramatic.
Oh, okay, so Hollywood just coincidentally and accidentally keeps using the same esoteric and occult-like symbols and the themes decade after decade. Right, because nothing in the mainstream is ever scripted or planned or intentional.
If you live in a Wisconsin...
Okay, like I said, can't crank up the bitch levels anymore. It is just aesthetic. Most people who enjoy emo and rock music, you're drawing such black and white lines. You're being so freaking judgmental and not being religious or spiritual. You're being a self-righteous asshole. And there's nothing wrong with goth and emo culture, for fuck's sakes. I said this before, a lot of emo artists are Christian or spiritual. You're using culture war, fucking satanic panic, paranoia to judge people just because they're aesthetic and their appearance. You are such an absolutist in perfection. Anything that deviates from your 1950s Jesus freak norms is inherently evil. People can't be individuals in your religion, apparently, huh? People can't dress as... We're not even talking about modesty culture here. We're talking just about people wearing black, wearing, like, esoteric shirts, or they enjoy a metal band, or they enjoy... These themes are fun. And no, for a minute, don't act like your Catholic church is, like, some bastion of light. There's a lot of dark, fucked up, esoteric, cultist shit in the Catholic Church. I was a Knights of Columbus member. I saw some fucked up shit. Your religion has its own esoteric shit going for it. Your religion is a combination of a bunch of pagan traditions that were absorbed into Christianity. Your religion has a lot of weird, fucked up saint stories that are psychosis inducing. Did you ever think about that? How much psychosis inducing Fatima is? A lot of us went to emo culture because we wanted to be individuals and we didn't want to be fucking slaves to a religious system that told us we're going to hell for watching Simpsons or The Family Guy. Your legalism, once again, is showing, like, dramatically. You fucking bitch. Most of us are still Christian and enjoy emo and heavy metal music. Most of us enjoy occult aesthetics and still go to church. You fucking asshole. Look, at the end of the day, there's a difference between liking emo and goth aesthetic and going down the Aleister Crowley pipeline. Most emo and goth I know don't go down the Aleister Crowley pipeline to the extreme. And if they do, they usually get the fuck out. Stop judging people. And by the way, for anyone who's watching this, Catholics consider the most stupid things to be esoteric and occultish. That's a buzzword for them, just like moral relativism. Their buzzword is, well, moral relativism and occult, when in reality, religion also has a lot of occultish, creepy, goth sort of shit, like worshipping bones. There's entire cathedrals in ancient Greece made out of bones and the saint relics, the body parts of saints that are worshipped and prayed to. Don't tell me your religion isn't also creepy and weird and fucked as hell. Oh, the obsession with saints, the obsession with purity and how far these stories go is twisted. I'll take the occult goth merch over your weird fucked up shit day of the week. But also in closing, I also want to say that I am goth. I practice yoga. Apparently yoga is considered occultish. Yoga is considered part of the occult in these fanatics. Look, at the end of the day, is there a lot of cults in Hollywood? Yes. Is there a lot of satanic shit going on? Yes. Is there a lot of satanic shit going on in the Vatican? Yes. Demons are everywhere, okay? I do believe evil is everywhere, but most of us can enjoy a piece of media and not fall down the pipeline of going to the dark side or selling our souls or whatever. Some scripture for you. Take the log out of your own eye before you take the speck out of your neighbor's eye. A lot of these who I really hate. I hate celebrity culture, but a lot of them have less pride and judgmentalness than you will ever have. Your pride and your Phariseeism is just as much a sin as fucking a lot of the dark shit that happens in Hollywood culture. I want you to know that. Take the log out of your own eye before you take the splinter out of another person's eye. Your pride and your Phariseeism and making blanket statements and judging people, that's not very Christ-like, and that's also a sin. Your judgmentalness and your Phariseeism. You making things up where God doesn't. Now, I will admit, I practice the occult to an extent. I'm more of a mystic than an occultist. I'm far more of a mystic than an occultist. I'll agree with that. But most people, as they grow older, they leave the darker shit behind and they just focus on spirituality and being loving kind. And there's occultists who probably have a better chance of getting to heaven than you because they practice the Beatitudes more than you do. By the way, I know occultists that give everything for their community and have gone through such shit, and they use their spiritual abilities and their philosophy and their God-given divine spiritual gifts to help out people. And they use the occult and various techniques from other religions to train and manifest their abilities. And they do it to help out their community, heal wounds, and bring as much joy and love into the world as they can. And you know what? They do more good for the world and furthering the kingdom as quote heathens than you bashing people for their taste in music or aesthetic ever will. They actually go out there and help out the homeless. They go out there and they help the impoverished and they give everything for everyone. Meanwhile, you're just bitching here on the internet trying to have the moral high ground because you follow all the rules. You don't display any. And you can tell, this is the record, you can tell who is the Holy Spirit is working with by the fruits of the Spirit. And you display judgment, arrogance, pride, hatred, a lot of them. Yeah, I don't see you display many of the fruits, any of the fruits of Jesus. You're more like the Pharisees. You're using your moral judgment and your quote unquote ability to follow the word of the law, quote unquote, to think you're better than everyone else. It's pretty obvious. How about you give back the homeless? How about you volunteer to help out kids? How about you volunteer to help out people who are dying and who are going through mental depression? How about that? And there's more occultists who are doing that and actually in the world a better place than you are bitching about things on the internet. As I realize I'm doing the same damn thing.
In Wicked, and she's like gay, lesbian, straight, all the above. She's playing Jesus Christ in Jesus Christ Superstar. America Stop Mocking God Challenge Impossible. Okay, but like what I'm noticing is that Hollywood is going out of its way to not just mock Christ, but Christianity as a whole. And they never go after any other religion. If they did this to Muslims or atheists or Buddhists or whatever, there would be so much more outrage, and yet there's like no outrage. And that's how you know Christianity is the true faith, specifically Catholicism. You know, all Catholics are Christian, not all Christians are Catholic. But I've seen this time and time again where the priests are, in movies, are abusers, or they're the bad guy, or they're weak and corrupt, and the nuns are usually a joke, or they are the demon, which is... I don't even have to mention The Nun to you guys. That was just, despite the fact that in general that movie was just absolutely horrible and they decided to make more, it just what? And then of course Christians are usually mocked or portrayed as being too rigid or brainwashed fanatics, or even just in general the villains in a TV show or movie. Oh, but witches and sorcerers and demons? Nah, man, those are your best friends. I mean, Lucifer over there, he's your buddy. He's like this cool guy. You have to have sympathy for him, and not to mention he's hot. That's what they're glorifying now. It's just... I mean, you look around us in society today, and witchcraft is relabeled as empowerment and feminine in control and whatever. Like, take control of your own life. I'm sorry, I don't want control of my own life. I like it when God has more control because then it's not always up to me. And then, of course, demonic infestation or this or that is meant to be like scary, but it's really more or less been turned into a joke. I don't even want to get into that with you guys because that was a huge thing that was going around like a couple years ago where they were like, oh, I need a demon bestie and I'm gonna be best friends with a demon and conjure one and we're just gonna hang out all day and like he's gonna possess me and we're gonna be bestie. Huh? The lack of education is palpable. And then, of course, there's the whole selling your soul to the devil thing. We see that in Hollywood all the time. You can never really confirm if these people have or have not sold their soul to the devil, but there are some signs. Kendrick Lamar, Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift potentially, Madonna. And even if they haven't explicitly sold their soul to the devil, they are still in the control of Satan because they are in mortal sin. People are like, oh, well, you don't know that. Their music videos speak for themselves. You can judge someone based off of their actions. That's not being judgmental. That's called making an informed decision. You wouldn't let a robber babysit your kids. I'm not talking down to you guys. I just think it's really funny that some people think judging is like a bad thing. Not always. Yeah, and then the last thing I guess is that exorcisms are made to be like this really big hullabaloo type of thing. Like they're not accurate. Like, some of them can be, of course. I think The Exorcist, one of the exorcists that I talked to, said that was probably the most realistic type of exorcism, but still it was done up a little bit and stuff. So it's like, there are still things in that movie that are not accurate to what happens in exorcisms. But I've noticed time and time again that in these movies make the Catholic Church out to be the enemy or to be weak. And they constantly misunderstand the sacraments. They don't understand sanctifying grace or what it actually means to be a religious. And sometimes this is the only introduction some people have to the Catholic Church. And so when they see these movies or they're witnessing these types of things, they think, oh, the Catholic Church is so weak. And in reality, it's just propaganda to get them to go into the occult because the occult is, shown as this huge organization that's so powerful.
Who are you bathrobe wearing freaks?
And why would you want to be a part of a weak church? I mean, this is awful. First of all, because it's the occult propaganda trying to get people into witchcraft, the occult, Satanism, etc. And this isn't a new trend. It's been happening for literal decades. But I think in the past, some people at least recognized it, but now it's just too mainstream. It's not that big of a deal. Who cares if I give my daughter a Ouija board for her birthday? It's not a huge deal. And they are targeting kids. I mean, just look at Disney. Yes.
Hello. Many of you know me as two-time Emmy Award-winning actor Eric Stone Street. But I'm also a bit of a maverick in the kitchen. My current obsession? Playing the brand new puzzle game Royal Kingdom while slow cooking my mates. Let me tell you why I love Royal Kingdom so much. First of all, the game is free to download, and you don't even need Wi-Fi to play. I travel a lot for work, and some places have no Wi-Fi whatsoever, but that doesn't stop me from playing Royal Kingdom. And guess what? There are never any pop-up ads. I mean, can it get any better? Download and play Royal Kingdom today.
Disney. I don't know who needs to hear this, but just because something's animated does not mean that it's fit for kids. I mean, go back and look at different types of shows for kids, like the Owl House, or certain popular cartoons and things like that. You'll find divination, you'll find spell casting, and you'll find, what do they call it? Light witchcraft everywhere. They aren't just normalizing witchcraft, they're normalizing it as a tool that can be used for either good or evil, which is not true. There is no such thing as white magic. There is no such thing as a good witch. There is no such thing as good magic. It's all divination. It's all satanic. And scripture is explicit about this. Let no one be found among you who sacrifices their son or daughter in the fire, who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft, or casts spells, or who is a medium or a spiritualist, or who consults the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. Deuteronomy 18:10-12. yourself. And in case that didn't convince you for whatever reason, the Catechism backs this up. The Catechism of the Catholic Church 2116 states, all forms of divination are to be rejected. Recourse to Satan or demons, conjuring up the dead, or other practices falsely supposed to unveil the future. This isn't a game. This isn't just lore or fiction. When you're teaching kids that calling on spirits or practicing magic is just another form of power, you're teaching them to open doors that should remain shut. And now I'm interrupting your amazing video experience to bring you our sponsor today, House of Joppa. Honestly, guys, in today's world, it can be really hard to find beauty that aligns with our faith. But at House of Joppa, they've created a space where timeless Catholic tradition meets
endlessly and just be submissive. Fuck that shit. And as for Dogma, that movie helped me deconstruct a lot, helped me get out of the cult I was in, and reshape my worldview, and help me have the whole point of Dogma is faith is a beautiful, beautiful thing, and God is loving and kind. Played by a woman, Lance Morissette. She'd probably bitch about that. But no, God and faith are beautiful things, that inspire us and give us hope. Whereas religion, the politics of said religion, especially the Catholic Church, treat people like shit and toss them aside. Just like the Pharisees tossed Jesus and his followers aside. Dogma is a criticism of the Phariseeism of the Catholic Church and its politics and its bureaucracy, and how many people are thrown aside and invalidated just for being themselves. It's about not religion and dogma, but faith and spirituality and God's love for humanity. That's the whole point of Dogma. And the other shit she's talking about, like, is Catholicism being persecuted? Bitch, your religion has persecuted more people on the planet. You still persecute people. You expel people from your communities. You shame them for their music, the taste in media that they like, the TV shows they watch, the games they play, how they dress, who they vote for, what job they want to get, how many kids they want to have. You shame and throw people aside and abandon people and just cast everyone aside. Just because they like Final Fantasy, just because they like Billy and Mandy, and they grew up watching, like, freaking Hazard Hotel. That shit slap. I love my goth emo culture, okay? I love being a goth emo who plays video games and walks by Catholics and does everything in his power to piss them off by summoning the Dater gods, Moloch, Ball, and Slash, praise be, to curse your foul ass. Kidding, just kidding. I don't do that shit. But seriously, your religion has persecuted more when we talk about persecution in the United States, every group has persecuted another group of people. And Catholicism is the main reason why so many people in the West hate Christianity and religion as a whole. Because of the persecution and the judgment you have unleashed upon so many innocent people just for being who they are or being different. And have excluded people for so many things that don't even matter. And have been so Pharisaic and legalistic. You brought it upon yourself. Now, do I think Catholicism should be persecuted? No. Do I think Christians should be persecuted? No. Is there an anti-Christian attitude online in Hollywood? Yes, but that's in response to the way Catholics and Christians have treated a lot of people. So, you know what? It's a never-ending cycle of oppression and persecution, which has been going on for thousands of years. Christians are persecuted, then they persecute other Christians, Gnostics, and other pagans. And this cycle of persecution is something that Christianity has perpetuated in itself and has brought upon itself. No group should be persecuted for their religion, okay? No group should be persecuted for their religion. But turning people aside and shaming them, just shaming them for their taste in media and film and television, that's ridiculous. That is so Pharisaic. Jesus hung out with the prostitutes and the tax collectors. He hung out with the outcast. And you ostracizing people just because they're different than you, you're no better than the Pharisees. But other things I want to bring up with this whole thing is, of course, fucking record. These are just kid shows. Most kids are not going to play with Ouija boards or get involved with actual cult stuff. And I do agree with, like, if you're worshiping non-Christian deities, there are dangers with that. But obviously, I've known plenty of occultists, and none of them are possessed. None of them are satanic. And also, as a Christian mage, I do get a little hesitant when I see people praying to other non-Christian gods, like Like, seriously, like, I do beware of things like Pazuzu. I am wary of, extremely wary of Ouija boards. I am somewhat wary of tarot cards, but once again, it's all intent and how you use something. And to quote my friend Adam, just like there was a Supreme Court justice who once said, you can tell pornography when you see it, same thing applies to witchcraft. When you're dealing with something that's going to, like, lead you astray off the Christian faith, you'll recognize it. You'll recognize it. Yoga, fine. Tarot cards, you're doing it for fun, it's fine. It's when you start taking these things and taking them seriously. It's when you start going to Owl House or, like, Pine, or what was it called? What was the name of it? Um, Something Woods, Mystery Woods. I forget the name of it. That's fun. It's fun. It's just a kid's show, okay? Most kids aren't getting the idea to play with dark, demonic things from kids' shows. And the enemies in these shows are still evil, elder, demon gods who people are fighting against. And if this is your argument, then we should just burn books. We should burn Harry Potter books. We should burn Lord of the Rings books. This is purging media just because it's different. What, you want to purge magic from all forms of media? Then we should purge Tolkien. And just to clarify this, even Tolkien said, if magic existed, it could be used for great good. If magic exists in the real world, it could be used for great good. And for fuck's sakes, you Catholics have your own version of magic. Have you seen the stories of your saints? Have you seen those things and how magical they are? Look, there's a difference. I want to say this. You know when you're dealing with something that has a dark power. When, as a Christian mage, I don't pray to non-Christian deities. I don't pray to other powers. I don't use Ouija boards. I will always tell people don't use Ouija boards. Even tarot cards are pushing it, but they're not. Tarot cards can depends on you with your intent. Depends on your intent how you go about it. The moment you start giving into magical thinking, a thing has power, yeah, you're opening up the gateway to demons. I'm not going to deny that. If you're doing this just a fun game, you're fine. Ouija boards, I tell people to avoid those. But don't be superstitious, which you Catholics are very superstitious of anything that's not white and Christian. But no, Owl House is not going to lead kids to satanic magic. And once again, the white magic thing, that's just theurgy. And Catholicism sacramental theology is heavily based off theurgy. A lot of Catholic spiritual and sacramental philosophy is based off Neoplatonism and Stoic philosophy from the Greco-Roman period. Once again, I shall phrase my favorite Bible quote of all time, Romans 14-15. Let your conscience guide you. If something leads you astray and makes you lose your faith in God and makes you feel uncomfortable, it's from evil. If you feel fine watching Owl House, playing dark games like Skyrim, playing D&D, enjoying heavy metal, enjoying emo rock, and it makes you build connections, friendships, and helps you grow as a person and develop yourself, it's all good. Do not judge people. 98% of day-to-day life, especially the media, is not black and white condemned in the Bible. It's how you use it. If it's leading you astray, if it's getting in the way of your faith, if so, abandon it. If it's helping you grow as a person, it's not impacting you and negatively in shape or form, or bringing you into a sense of community, a new sense of interest, a new sense of people you can contact and be friends with, by all means, commit to it. It's when it costs you your faith and it starts making you feel guilty about doing something you shouldn't do something. And that's 98% of things. That includes the media. I have a very strong faith. I should not mock Amber for having a very weak faith, but she gives me very little choice. She judges people for things as benign as emo music. She is a Pharisee. She's making laws that the Bible doesn't and infringing her conscience onto everyone else. And I do agree with her. There are dark aspects of the occult. There are dark aspects of the occult that can open the door for demons. I will admit that. And I'm cautious with people when they start delving into things that I think are dangerous. But you can't force your beliefs on people's throats, for one. Free country. And two, I disagree. The whole point of what she thinks is witchcraft, magic in the Old Testament, there are two kinds of magic. There was the holy arts and holy mysticism that is very similar to Tolkien in Lord of the Rings that you can find in the Old Testament. If you're, it depends who you're putting your energy into. As a Christian mage, I put my energy into God and his pantheon of saints and angels. If I did that to a foreign god, that's witchcraft and sorcery. That's what defines good magic. Mysticism. These are such weird words. I'm using magic as just a draw term here. If I'm doing like spiritual work with Jesus and God and Jophiel and the archangels, I'm fine. Or if you're doing it with demons or pagan gods, that's when you kind of cross the boundary into no longer being a Christian mage. And you open some doors that you probably shouldn't open. I don't know. For the record, to quote Tolkien on this, his magic in his world was literally mental ability, spiritual gifts, and how you use spiritual sciences, spiritual gifts, and how you use them. What's your intent behind this meditation, behind this Reiki, behind this act, behind this thought experiment? It's your intent. All magic is, in my opinion, really what it is meditation and spiritual reflective psychology that we can use to shape reality. And that same applies to science. I mean, there's a philosopher who once said, magic, when technology is advanced enough, it's indistinguishable from magic. So really, at the end of the day, all magic really is like technologies, whether that be spiritual, mental, or physical, and how we use them is what defines if it's good or bad. For the most part, there are exceptions to that, but it's mostly how I view quote unquote magic. It's just spiritual psychology and reflection and manifestation techniques to shape reality, to use it for good or evil.
Modern design. From handcrafted rosaries to sacred art to devotional jewelry and gifts, House of Joppa offers products that inspire prayer, reflection, and beauty in your everyday life. You guys already know one of my most favorite items from House of Joppa is their standing crucifix. You guys see this crucifix in almost every single one of my vlogs because I do my examination of conscience in front of this crucifix, my prayers, my rosary, etc. It is always there to remind me of Christ's love for me. And each one of their pieces is thoughtfully designed in that way to keep your eyes on Christ and on heaven. So whether you're looking for a meaningful gift for somebody or you're looking to enhance your personal devotion, House of Joppa has something perfect for you. So elevate your faith, embrace the beauty of the sacred, and go to houseofjoppa.com. That's houseofjoppa.com. And with all of that being said, let's get back into the video. You are putting them in spiritual danger. And before somebody says it in my comment section, because I know I'm gonna get this, yes, there is a difference between fantasy storytelling and occult propaganda. Okay, there is a difference.
Doorways
I'm not saying
to the demonic,
they're the same
whether
thing.
your
To me, the
intention
issue
is to do
isn't
that
just
or not.
the
If you are
existence
doing
of
magic
something
in fiction,
that welcomes
it's just
demons
how
into your
the
life. The
real
demons don't
occult
care if you
practices are
consent
woven into it,
to having
making
them come into your life.
Innocent.
They're going to come in,
and this is
completely
something that I
normal.
feel like
and
we
I want
need
to be
think
clear
about
about
something
right
here.
Why are these symbols
have
showing up
There's
where they do not
symbols mean
belong?
something.
They're showing
Although
up in
that's hard to tell
pop
today
music
since people just throw
videos. They're
symbols
in
around
fashion. So you're
needlessly
telling me
that it's like,
that
what does
these
that mean
elite
anymore?
corporations,
Anyone who
these
has ever studied
multi-billion-dollar
industries
religion, or even just
are
like
just
basic marketing
accidentally
skills,
using
know
occult
that
symbols
symbols have power,
over
that they have
and
meaning.
over and
I mean,
over
they
again,
communicate
accidentally.
ideas. They hold cultural, psychological, and
roads,
spiritual
Sylvania
weight.
lighting
And it
experts
sometimes
design
just feels
headlight
like the
bulbs
Catholic
for
Church is the
better
only one
visibility.
who understands
See
this
better tonight
outside of
when
the
you upgrade
Luciferians
today.
and of course
Visit
the
Sylvania.com or the Auto Parts
and,
Professionals at these
the Satanists,
retailers.
whatever. But again, the church understands this. This is why we
I don't have
sacramentals,
on my phone.
holy water.
The point is,
at
at
the
some
sign of
point,
the cross,
the whole
these are not
coincidence argument
decorations.
can no longer
These
be argued.
Are objects
It just
that remind
it collapses
us of
under
our
its
faith.
own weight.
God uses
Like,
sacramentals
you can't
as a
keep
tool
looking
to
at
give
this
us
and being like,
grace. So
oh, they
for
didn't
me,
mean that.
it's
They didn't
really
mean to
odd
put
when people believe the
that
opposite
symbol in
isn't
there
true.
or this or that.
Cult
Sure they
symbols
didn't.
don't
And I
have
know it
any
seems like I'm just
meaning,
ragging
and,
on
it's all just
Hollywood
fun
and things
games,
like that. But at the
especially
end of the
around
day,
Halloween
this
time.
really
I don't know,
does
there's,
have
like,
to do
what,
with
the
saving
all-seeing
souls.
eye
The
that
devil
I see
doesn't
actually
need
quite a
people
few
to
Catholics
perform
wearing.
blood
Get rid of it.
sacrifices
Talking
in their
get rid of it.
basement or to
Inverted
worship him
pentagrams,
to get control over their lives or to get them away from God. At the end of the day, he really just needs you to be indifferent and be desensitized. And I think part of that comes from us no longer questioning what we consume in media and just going along with it. I mean, because the minute we stop thinking about the culture around us and what's going on around us is when we start losing the battle. We need to stop and start thinking critically about the things that we are consuming. Physically, of course, because most of our food here in America is poison. Hopefully we'll fix that, but you know how these things go. We need to watch what we watch. Literally, we need to watch what we consume mentally with TV shows and music, etc. And we also need to be careful about the people we surround ourselves with, because the people we surround ourselves with are the people we start acting like the most. So if your friends are really into the occult or they're really into, extreme levels of liberalism and things like that, you are probably going to start leaning in that way too. It's just psychological. It's what we do. And the Bible specifically tells us to stay vigilant. In 1 Peter 5:8, it says, "Be sober-minded and be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour." And I do believe that the entire point of modern culture is to numb us to these spiritual battles, to desensitize us to these things that should outrage us as Christians. It turns evil into a joke. It disguises the demonic as just some fun trend, and it mocks virtue while celebrating vice. And if you point this out, they label you as, oh, you're just reading into things too much, you're crazy, like why are you so paranoid? Which honestly should tell you everything you need to know about modern culture, but I'm tired of the gaslighting, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm not gonna leave it on a sad note. I'm not gonna leave it on a depressing note. I'm not gonna leave it on a note, okay? We are not musicians here. I'm going to give you guys some advice because we are not just a negative trauma dumping channel here. We try to be constructive as well and give you guys ways that you can help combat this negativity that we're seeing in the culture. I say we as if there's multiple of me, but it's just me. Now look, I'm not saying we should all live in a cave and avoid all media around us, okay? I'm not saying that. But like I said a little bit earlier, we do need to be smarter about what we consume and be intentional about the things we consume. So a few things you can do is you can pay more attention to the music videos, the TV shows, the movies, etc. that you're watching. Don't just consume media blindly. Actually look at it and be like, is this something as a Christian I should be consuming? Number 2, if something feels off, it probably is. So make sure you are discerning and actually looking into it. This kind of actually ties into number 1, so I guess that, yeah. Discern. Number 3 is a big one. We vote with our dollar, and the way that we vote spiritually, that's not it. We need to stop supporting these types of corporations. We need to stop supporting these entertainment industries that blatantly attack or mock God or Christianity. And we need to stop supporting the celebrities that release blasphemous videos and do blasphemous concerts. I'm looking at Kendrick Lamar. You need to stop supporting these people and supporting this industry. That includes Disney Plus. Now, some people might be like, oh, well, does this mean I have to avoid Target? Does this mean I have to avoid, Hulu or something? Not necessarily. I personally would just avoid the celebrities and the organizations that blatantly are anti-Christian or anti-God. And the ones that consistently keep popping up are Disney, Ariana Grande, Kendrick Lamar, who's ever producing that Jesus Christ Superstar film. Just don't support that. Make sure you're staying close to the sacraments. Make sure you're going to Mass as often as you can, receiving the Eucharist, going to confession, being in a state of grace. That is what's going off Christianity, because it's their First Amendment right to have freedom of speech, to mock God, etc. Spiritual. It's legal cannabis. It's real flower. It gets you a real.
Whoa, who gives you such a
experiences right now. But I guess the main thing out of all of this is don't let the world gaslight you into thinking that your faith is somehow infringing upon their occult practices or their rights, or that they should be able to mock Christianity because it's their First Amendment right to have freedom of speech, to mock God, etc. No, this country was built on God. In God we trust, and we have strayed far away from that, and it's really, really disheartening and very sad to see. Honestly, it's beyond me as to why God hasn't, shown us his wrath yet, because we deserve it, but I'm also very thankful that he hasn't, so that it gives people more time to repent. But yeah, I'm so over it. And you know what, at the end of the day, the entertainment industry is not neutral. A lot of people say, oh, it's neutral, like, whatever. No, it's not neutral. Neither is the culture we live in. The culture we live in isn't neutral either. They're blatantly anti-Christian. The real battle is happening here. Real souls are at stake. And the good news, of course, is that Satan has already lost. Like, there is that. But Our Lady of Fatima said that souls fall into hell like snowflakes because sinners have no one to pray for them. And so it's our duty
And the fact that she wants to turn America into a Christian nation. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. It's disgusting. The First Amendment gives everyone the right to practice whatever religion they want to believe in. And its founding father was not found by Christianity, it was found by deism. Just putting that out there. This country was founded on spiritual Kabbalah, Judeo-Christian Masonry. It was not Orthodox Christian. This country was not founded by Catholics. This country was not founded by the Catholic Church. And it was created so anyone can practice whatever they want to believe in and be whoever they want to be. And any deviation from that will lead to theocracy. And theocracy never leads anywhere good. It always leads to tyranny. Just look at the Holy Roman Empire. Look at the Byzantine Empire. Justifying slavery, legalism, persecution. And this chick seems like would love to burn people at the stake just for how they're dressed, what music they listen to, or what video games they play, or what their job is. She's an inquisitor. Her theology is outdated and backwards and dark ages as hell. And even the modern day Catholic Church does not preach this kind of mentality. This country is founded for religious freedom. And that means I have to respect what you believe in, you have to respect what I believe in. Just don't force on, and let's not force on each other. Christian nationalism will not lead to some glorious new covenant empire. It'll lead to oppression, death, and the death of the Gospels. And there you got it. There you have it. This person is very cruel, self-righteous, using very dark ages, outdated theology, and is obsessed with demons and the occult, and is looking for sin everywhere they can find it. And I agree with them that sometimes there's some evil is so subtle that sometimes things we can think are benign are actually the most evil things on the planet. But that also applies to judgmental, prideful Catholics who declare everyone who disagrees with them or looks different or enjoys this kind of music or that entertainment as demonic. That their judgment, their Phariseeism is just as demonic as using Ouija boards. At the end of the day, evil is evil. But at the same time, as much as there is evil in the world, there is God's grace, which is what truly conquers all. And the things I keep preaching, Romans 14:15, and throughout the Christian texts of Paul, you see a lot of moral relativism with it's moral relativism with a high focus on grace and relationship. And that's what being a Christian is all about. And I personally deeply believe that we have consciences, we have free will, and we have discernment, and we have grace to sustain us, and that's what the Christian life is. So that's what I think Christianity is, not this judgmental black and white legalistic abomination that these Catholics try and turn it into. And once again, Brian, I completely disagree with elements of what she said. I don't. When it comes to the occult and magic, just meditate and work on manifestation and mysticism. That's much more safer in the long run and much more fulfilling than being a left-hand magician, which is trying to make the world bow down to your will. I mean, I think mysticism is a great gift to achieve enlightenment and realize the God within you and realize the Holy Spirit is everywhere around us and everyone is touched by it. Even the goths, even the metalheads, because even the most twisted metalheads could be doing so much more good and love for the world than either of these two Catholics ever will. In the process, their souls are saved because they practice the Beatitudes, even if they're non-believers. And by the way, as a goth, as someone who's in metal, into dark fantasy, and grew up on dark fantasy and always will be this goth, angstridden weirdo who loves playing Elder Scrolls and D&D, and loves doing weird, dark, LARPing shit and goes to Ren fairs, I will always be loyal to God, because God gave me my source of life. And God is in all of us, and all of us are touched by God. And anyone can be a Christian. Anyone can chase after Christ, regardless of their interests, their personality, or their aesthetic, or their counterculture they belong to. At the end of the day, freaks and geeks are the people who are the ones who founded Christianity. And maybe that's why some new church could be built by geeks and freaks and goths and weirdos. There's Facebook groups for goths and occultists and metalheads and dark fantasy nerds. There's a counterculture and a kind of group for every kind of concept or energy you can think of. And that's why I love America. That's why I love God, because there's so much diversity of human existence and experience and belief and philosophy. And Christianity is part of that, because Catholic means universal, meaning anyone can relate to Christ and can be a Christian their own way. And that's what I'll be ending things today. Her statement that she knows these celebrities are going to hell or they made Ferguson deals. By the way, Ferguson deals, like deals with the devil, that's most Christians, that's not very theologically accurate. It's mostly a Hollywood thing, like an actual like occult movie thing. I've known numerous priests and pastors, and they tell me all that deal with the devil thing. That's just a bunch of bullshit. And her making blanket statements of bearing false witness and saying this celebrity sold their soul, that celebrity sold their soul, and they're demonic, and that you're going to hell. She's being very judgmental, making statements that she has no idea what she's making. You should pray for her. I pray for her. She's making judgments about who is hellbound, who is heavenbound, and that's very much the antithesis of the Christian gospel. And that's where I'll be ending today's video, folks. I enjoy doing this content, and you can follow me on Facebook. I will be leaving YouTube for a while to focus on other goals because the platform just isn't working for me. At least, but you can follow me on Facebook. I'm Lucian Nelson. I do a lot of occult, nerd shit, goth stuff, dark fantasy, and streaming on Facebook. And you want to follow me on there, you're more than welcome to. Till next time, folks. Stay sane. God bless. Drink the blood from the chalice, and become the edgelord you were always meant to be. And fuck hobbits. Fuck hobbits. Peace.